Welcome to Rail Park Reviews, the series where we visit rail parks across the United States to give rail fans a detailed tour and review of some of the most famous places to watch trains across the country. On this episode, we visit Crossroads Park in Deshler, Ohio. We'll discuss all of the important information rail fans need to know about the park, like what is the track layout? How many trains pass the park each day? Is this a good place to take pictures of trains? Does the park have amenities like a shelter or restrooms? Plus, I'll give you my 5 favorite and least favorite things about Crossroads Park. This episode of Rail Park Reviews covers all of this, plus much more. Located in northwest Ohio, about 40 miles south of Toledo, Deshler is known as the crossroads of the former Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. I grew up in Perrysburg, Ohio, just south of Toledo, so we made countless trips to Deshler throughout my childhood. With fewer than 2,000 residents, the village of Deshler has a small town feel, making for a perfect Midwestern railroad town. Deshler is a true railfan hotspot, seeing around 50 trains per day. Most of the action is found on the double-track east-west main line, where the diamond serves as the division between 2 subdivisions, the Willard subdivision to the east of the diamond and the Garrett subdivision to the west of the diamond. The single-track north-south line is part of CSX's Toledo subdivision. Most of the trains on this line come from the south and use the connector track to head east onto the Willard subdivision, or vice versa. Crossroads Park sits on the plot of land southwest of the diamond, providing rail fans with an ideal view of all movements through the junction. There are 3 connector branches that trains can take in Deshler: northwest, southwest, and southeast, with the southeast connector track being the most frequently used branch. Let's take a break to watch a train use the southeast connector branch. let's talk a little more about Crossroads Park. Passenger trains used to service Deshler, as evidenced by the remnants of the old station northwest of the Diamond, but Amtrak does not currently run any trains through Deshler. The old station suffered a fair amount of damage during a derailment in 2002, and has looked pretty shabby since then. To the northeast of the Diamond sits the former Control Tower, which is now owned by CSX and used by the Maintenance of Way Department. The property on which Crossroads Park sits was purchased in 1990 and donated to the Bartlow Township Historical Society for use as a rail park. The park features several useful amenities, such as a covered shelter with picnic tables and a scanner, a fire pit, and even Wi-Fi. There are no permanent restrooms on site, but as long as I've been coming to Deshler, there has always been a portable toilet on site. It's not the most pleasant in the middle of summer, but it definitely beats driving into town just to use the restroom. Speaking of town, there are no large chain stores or restaurants in Deshler, just your typical small town businesses where you can grab the essentials and a bite to eat. I think I hear a train coming, so let's get back over to the park. Another really nice amenity Crossroads Park has to offer is electric hookups for camping vehicles, such as RVs. During weekends in the summer, it is not uncommon to find a dozen or more people camping at the park overnight and making use of the fire pit. Even if nobody is here watching trains, there are always railfans watching the park on the virtual railfan webcams at all hours of the day and night. The virtual railfan webcams began streaming on August 4th, 2017 and run 24/7, 365 on YouTube. I'll include a link below in the video's description. There are two camera angles railfans can watch online: a static camera facing the diamond and a 360 camera that often faces south but moves around when trains pass by. If you plan to visit the area, there are a few other points of interest that you may want to explore on your trip. First, the Fostoria Iron Triangle Rail Park is only 45 minutes to the east of Deshler. CSX trains heading east on the Willard subdivision will eventually arrive in Fostoria, where they intersect Norfolk Southern's Fostoria district and the CSX Columbus subdivision to form what is known as the Iron Triangle. The Iron Triangle Rail Park is definitely worth a visit if you're in the area, and it's easy to visit both Deshler and Fostoria on the same day. Toledo and Marion are also great places to watch trains, so if you're coming in from out of state, those cities may be worth checking out as well. In Toledo, there are several great railfan locations. I would recommend going to the Vickers Diamond in Northwood if you're new to the area. If you go to Marion, you can watch trains at the old depot right where 3 separate lines come together. There are so many great railfan locations to visit in my home state of Ohio. It's hard to pick just a few to recommend. If you have an Ohio railfan location to recommend, leave a comment below for other railfans to see. Let's head back to Deshler to watch one last train before I reveal my 5 favorite and least favorite things about Crossroads Park. For each episode of Rail Park Reviews, I'll give you my 5 favorite and least favorite things about each rail park. Let's start with my 5 favorite things about Deshler, in no particular order. 1. The small town atmosphere. The village of Deshler always feels like a welcoming, quiet, relaxing, and safe place to watch trains. The railfans at the park and the community members are always friendly, and even as a young child, I remember feeling like Deshler was a safe community where I could let my guard down and relax. Unfortunately, I can't say that about all rail parks and train watching locations. 2. The track layout. The 3 connector spurs make rail fanning at Crossroads Park interesting because they add variety to the types of movements you can see. Unlike many rail parks where trains simply pass by on one straight section of track, Deshler provides railfans with a unique experience where trains can go in many different directions. By my calculations, there are 10 different directions a train can go when it arrives in Deshler. That variety makes railfanning at Crossroads Park exciting. There are fast-moving trains and slow-moving trains. Plus, regardless of what time of day it is, you can always find a good angle to get the perfect picture or video, as long as you're willing to be creative and move around. 3. The old B&O signals. You may want to make a trip to Deshler before the old Baltimore and Ohio signals disappear. I'm sure they'll be replaced sometime in the near future. Out where I live in central Pennsylvania, Norfolk Southern has been replacing all of the remaining Pincy signals on the Pittsburgh line. I'm sure CSX will follow suit fairly soon by upgrading their signals. In the meantime, learning about the various signal indications given by the old B&O signals is fun, so come check them out. 4. Relaxing in between trains. Crossroads Park is simply a nice place to relax. Again, the small town atmosphere, the grassy park, the shelter with picnic tables all make Crossroads Park a perfect place to relax when trains aren't coming. You can even buy a fishing license and go fishing in one of the 3 reservoirs right by the tracks. Crossroads Park has some unique amenities not common at rail parks, such as Wi-Fi, RV electric hookups, and a fire pit. The shelter is great if it rains, and the portable restroom is helpful. It's everything you need for a great railfan trip, plus more. 5. The frequency of trains. As I mentioned before, Deshler often sees around 50 trains per day, and while there may be some occasional quiet times, the train traffic is usually steady. Besides, like I mentioned before, even during the quiet times, Crossroads Park is a fantastic place to hang out and relax. Alright, now let's talk about my 5 least favorite things about Crossroads Park. Before I give you my list, I want to make sure that everyone understands that by giving this list, I'm not saying that I dislike Crossroads Park. Not at all. Crossroads Park is absolutely one of my all-time favorite places to watch trains. Instead, my goal is to provide railfans with the most complete review possible, which means I need to address some negatives to go along with all the positives, because there are a few issues to talk about. With that in mind, here are my 5 least favorite things about Crossroads Park. 1. If you're traveling from far away and need a hotel, the nearest hotels are in Findlay or Bowling Green. Both cities are about 30 minutes away from Deshler, so you've got a 1-hour round trip to the nearest chain hotel and back to the park. If you're planning a big railfanning trip, you may want to spend the day in Deshler and then drive north to Toledo for the night and spend the next day railfanning in Northwood, or drive south to visit Marion and perhaps even visit Columbus. 2. While the park sees a lot of train traffic, it's not as busy as nearby Fostoria. Many railfans prefer going to the Fostoria Iron Triangle Rail Park because there is a little more traffic. You get the same CSX main line as in Deshler, plus a Norfolk Southern line and additional CSX line, both of which are a little busier than the north-south Toledo subdivision line in Deshler. In my opinion, Deshler has a better overall atmosphere, but Fostoria is busier. Why not visit both if you have time? 3. The old passenger station is an eyesore in desperate need of attention. Now, you may think this isn't a big deal, but it's been almost 2 decades since a train derailed into the station, and nothing has been done to the building other than hanging a piece of plywood over the hole made by the derailed train. I know the station has some historical value, but it's in complete disrepair. In my opinion, they should either fix the station and use it for something like a museum, or tear it down altogether. In the end, it's hard to picture the Deshler Diamond without the station, but the station definitely deserves better than what it's getting right now. 4. Within the actual park itself, there are not a lot of great photography lines. I've noticed that you have to be creative to find good shots from ground level. If you're willing to move around and leave the park, this isn't an issue. But if you don't want to leave the park, this could be annoying. 5. While it's nice that Deshler has a portable toilet on site, it's not exactly the most pleasant. On the other hand, Fostoria has a permanent restroom building, making that rail park a little nicer in that regard. All these negatives aside, I really hope that if you haven't visited Crossroads Park, you plan to make a visit sometime in the near future, because the positives definitely outweigh the negatives in my opinion, and I strongly recommend making the trip. I've been coming to Crossroads Park on a regular basis for over 20 years now. There's literally not been even a single year where I haven't made multiple trips to the park, even over the last few years while living in central Pennsylvania. In conclusion, if you get a chance to visit Crossroads Park in the future, I'm sure you'll love it. Deshler is the quintessential Midwestern railroad town, with a perfect small town atmosphere and lots of trains to watch. The Diamond, with all of the connector tracks, provides a wide variety of movements railfans will see each day, making the number of video and picture opportunities nearly endless. Maybe I'll see you there one day. In the meantime, leave a comment below telling me about your plans to visit Deshler in the future. Are you a regular visitor or planning to make your first trip? If you've been to Crossroads Park, leave a comment to let me know if I forgot to mention anything important about Deshler. Also, if there's a rail park you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, have a good one, and happy rail fanning.